Welcome to another episode of the APL Spotlight Series, a subset of the APL show. Amazing guests from all over the world. We're up to 25 countries and 320 shows booked all the way into January of 2026. Come on the regular show. And then we can't not have them back. It's like potato chips or M&Ms. You got to have another dose. So we have the amazing expert come back for like almost add water and have instant amazingness when they come back on the APL Spotlight Series. So you're going to see a lot more of these episodes start to pop up really January of 2025 and on. Today, coming to us from Florida, absolutely an amazing and well-known author, spiritual teacher. She's the founder of the Joy School. You know her books, you know her children's books, you know her self-help spiritual book, and she's also been a silent ghostwriter. Between everything that she's done, and we're talking 40 plus books, she's sold well over 9 million, but if you really count the silent ghostwriting for like Roma Downey, I gotta say it, she's embarrassed. I'm kidding. She's actually sold probably double that. Anyhow, amazing writer, amazing heart. And she's here to remind us, sort of like a Mother Teresa, that life is a lot smoother if you'll just get out of your own way and let the universe do its job. There's a lot more joy, love, compassion around you, within you. If you also just pump the brakes on the thinking and what you think you know for just 5 minutes, it'll all come back if you're worried about it. But you can do a little more love and share a little more love always. So with that, and no more delaying, LISA McCOURT is joining us back on the show. I'm so excited to see her again. Thank you, Lisa, for coming back on.
Thank you for having me, Michael. You just said it all. That's what we're going to talk about. That's it in a nutshell. And thank you for complimenting my heart. I always want to play with you because I feel your heart, and I know that our hearts match. And the more we can get that heart vibe out there in this weary world, the better for us and everybody. So thank you for the opportunity to talk again.
Oh, thank you. And it's funny because you had put up a beautiful, gentle, I think it was a Facebook post. And given the week that we're in, it's election week and everything else, and election day, actually, you'd put up the gentlest reminder for us all. And I was like, I knew I had to do a post this day and I was headed that direction. But you really reminded me to, like, just make sure it's just not neutral, but upbeat. And so I did the same thing. And then I wrote a note just thanking you for your Facebook post because I've been kind of delaying, procrastinating, and you got me over the fence. So I wrote that note and we got chatting, and here we are recording out of the blue, which I just love. And we're going to do a lot more of this. So you're welcome to come back in 2025 to do this all over again. What can you remind us with everything you're seeing? I mean, it could be social media and people are deleting some of their friends on social media as fast as possible, or at least snooze them for 30 days. There's all sorts of issues out there. And as Ananda Mayama in India would say, everyone's running around right. And I personally, in 56 years, have never met anybody who's wrong. I've never met anybody who's going off to work and said, I'm going to be wrong all day long and all week. I'm going to try to get fired this week. And anything like that. It's fantasy football. Every owner of their team thinks they have the best team. That's just a fact, Jack. Okay, so Lisa, what's this all about again? What's happening to humanity, and especially in America? It's election time. How do we handle this with kid gloves?
Oh my gosh, so many threads to pull there. Yes, even with the kind of posting I've been doing, my podcast, my Joy School, I get pushback on just trying to point out that the larger issue here is that we are so divided, that there is so much vitriol. This is way bigger problem than any problem that's going to ensue from this candidate or that candidate going into office. And we can see psychologically how we've gotten here. We understand that social media and just the internet in general makes our information gathering so filtered and so selective and so funneled. And it's not hard to see how we got into this state psychologically. It's such a humany instinct to want a scapegoat when there are things in your life that aren't feeling right, and this whole group of people over here says really they're all to blame. And then you can find community. Loneliness is epidemic. The Surgeon General said loneliness is like the biggest killer in our country right now. To feel like you can be part of a tribe and part of a clique just by blaming those people over there for all of your problems, that's like such a natural human instinct. So it's really incumbent upon all of us to lean into our higher natures, to understand that this is not serving anybody, and nobody is going to the polls to vote for a crap country. Everybody is going to the polls with this vision of a better country, a better economy, a better whatever that means to each of us. And we've all gotten to that point based on our own very individual life and experiences that we've gathered and what kind of brain programs we've been installed with. All of us are just running brains that are computers, right? Our brains are nothing more than a human computer system running programs that have been installed in us. No one of us has been installed with the exact same programs as somebody else. So we have to just understand, as much as we're passionate about what we believe is the right direction for the country and the best thing for the country, so this other person in front of me, this other beautiful soul. This is like the definition of namaste. Spiritual people are supposed to understand my soul honors and respects your soul, no matter what brain programs we both have been installed with, right? So it's really about making that connection with oneness that lots of us and our audiences already are familiar with. But somehow when it comes to politics, we forget, right? We think that, we become so wedded to, like you said, the rightness of our position, that it supersedes our understanding of oneness. And when we walk out the front door feeling like half the country is our enemy, it's going to feel uncomfortable to bask in oneness because we're believing in the evilness of these other people. So we have to rise above that very human pit that most Americans seem to have fallen into. We have to understand that we're all just running different brain programs. Everybody wants a good country. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion about what that will look like.
Hey, we have an artist, Mystic, who's been showing up. I think I'm taping him 3 times out of LA. Bravo Valenti, who's awesome. But he's got a mantra that's just like, thank you, I love you. And he's, again, very inspiring. But if you were going to continue with the politics this week, you got to watch the election results. I'm assuming you're in America, but if not, you're watching it abroad, probably. You're curious. You want to make a statement. You want to point at that TV. It could be CNN, Fox, MSNBC. Start with thank you, I love you, and then say whatever it was, and then I hate you. Thank you, I love you, and I hate you, this political candidate. Do whatever you were going to do, but why don't you add the thank you, I love you, and you might start laughing at the end. And I got to use the New York Jets as the whipping post, boy, donkey, something, whatever we're going to whip. Let's use the New York Jets for just 2 seconds. There's people who love the New York Jets. I'm shocked. It's an NFL team. I might live in the tri-state area. I used to live there, and maybe I love the New York Jets. And then there's people who hate them. They share the stadium with the New York Giants, and New York Giants are clearly number one. And then there's everything in between. I personally no longer, well, I still cheer for the New York Jets and the Giants from time to time. Fantasy football has ruined my ability to just hate or segregate out. But so I root for everybody. But the point of this is there's everything in between as well. So let's use the New York Jets. I don't think anyone's going to get too upset. There's a huge contingent that are like worried about the New York Jets minus Thursday night's game. They had an incredible bunch of plays, and I think they won. Amazing plays, but it was an exception. So let's use the New York Jets. People hate them. People love them. People were really down on them. They just fired their coach. It's bad. It looks really bad. How can we keep our chin up high? And I'll do one final quote. In the end, love is what shows us life in different colors. And love, using the filter of love. How do we handle the New York Jets? How do we handle the US election? How do we handle what we're getting bombarded with daily through commercials and what we know factually? I know it here. Well, here.
Yeah. I think that's it. It's lean into the love, hold the vision of the country you would love to have. Don't paint it blue or red. Just hold the vision of the qualities of the country that you would love to have. And let that light up your heart. Send energy that is positive. Send energy that is of a high vibration frequency, because you're holding this high vibration vision of the country. That your energy is going to be so much more powerful from that perspective than sending the energy of fear and dread. And if my opponent doesn't win, we're going to hell in a handbasket. That's such a low vibration to send into it, that we're just going to create some sort of low vibration outcome, no matter who wins, there's potential for a low vibration outcome here. So hold the higher vision, love what you're imagining for the country, and pour love onto this whole situation.
Oh, we got to back up though and go 20,000 feet higher up, because what you're saying is your vibrational approach to everything makes an impact. Are you serious? Can you prove it? How do you know it? And Who influenced you on this whole thing? Was it Ram Dass? Was it Esther Hicks? Was it Wayne Dyer? Was it all the above? Was it Don Miguel Ruiz? Where did you pick up the concept that there's something called a vibration out there? I'm being a little facetious right now, having fun, but
In a lot
how is setting the table and being hospitality to everyone, how does that make a difference again?
Yeah, all of those teachers and many more. Very specifically, when we're talking about vibration, we use the David Hawkins scale in Joy School. David Hawkins, the scientist who assigned vibrational frequencies to all of the different emotions that are in our perfectly normal human spectrum of emotions to feel. And the most significant thing to me about the David Hawkins scale is around the centers, the 200 vibration of courage, and it's the level of truth. Every emotion that falls beneath that comes with it blinders. We cannot see objective reality when we're down in the lower emotions of shame and fear and anger. And until we rise at least halfway up the scale into the more acceptance, peace, some sort of okayness with the moment in front of us, we can't even see reality. We're seeing a very skewed interpretation, which all of us are seeing a skewed interpretation of reality all the time anyway, but it's much more skewed when you're down in the lower vibration frequencies. You've got to elevate yourself, whether that takes place entirely in your own mind and imagination. You have to elevate yourself to a higher frequency before you can even see the opportunities that might be there, or the possibilities.
Okay, but now someone just said, but I just voted yesterday and I've got the news on and I'm hot under the collar. How can a person pump the brakes, slow their roll, and take a breath and be in their heart? And how do they know they're in their heart? How do they know in the middle of the hottest high blood pressure moment today and tonight and tomorrow? How do they know they're actually in their heart and taking a broader perspective on everything? We're not asking anybody to change their vote. How can they just be love?
I think if you're looking for that sort of a check-in, it's how much of my desire for my candidate to win this election is about me winning and me getting to say, look, I was right. I was right all along because my candidate won. So I must be right about all these convictions that I've been talking to everybody about. Because that's, that's not being in your heart. That's a very human tendency. We have to give ourselves compassion when we're being human beings, because we're all doing that too. So just how much of it is I want my team to win, which we train ourselves, we train humans up for that from the time they're tiny, and we put them on sports teams. I always get pushback for this, but I personally feel like the way we push kids into sports, where your goal is for your team to win and go get ice cream and that team to go home sad, that's just like ridiculous. But anyway, we're trained up to want to win. And when we're caught up in that energy, we're not being in our heart, we're not being aligned with our soul selves. When we can honestly say, I really want what's best for this country. I really want what's best for the collective, for all the people in this country, because this is, and beyond, because, our soul doesn't really know country lines. So I really want what's best for all of humanity. And you're just holding that vision, and you're willing to say, I don't actually know all the things that are going to play out if this party wins or this party wins. Nobody does. Nobody knows that. I just want what's best for this country, whether that means my candidate wins or a different candidate wins. And sometimes there's sometimes energetically there are detours, and there's patience, and there's, there are bigger forces at work that we have to trust in and believe in, that the larger forces are moving humanity in a positive direction, even if it doesn't look like it in the moment to us.
Yeah, and that's what we're bringing up next is really, we're going to try to touch, there's a couple different broader slipstreams of unconsciousness and consciousness, or love and unlove. And not so seen, but if you wanted to pay attention to the details, you could. You can just trust that it's all bigger than we can think about, and that we are moving, like you said, in a broader direction. But can you talk about briefly, very gently, it's what you said about the two parties. It doesn't matter really who wins in one sense. When it comes to negativity, negativity just wants more negativity. And we don't have to say negativity. We can do density instead. And so man's propensity for density to rhyme is incredible. We've seen it with wars, conflict, elections. What you know, I know this, and da 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 da. And we use it as a baseball bat to club everybody, including baby seals. So there's only one thing that eclipses our propensity for density, and that's our ability to love. And that is where we're just getting started. We're kind of like the college kid living in the basement. We haven't gotten the first job yet. We have incredible room for growth, and we have incredible job opportunity for that kid in the basement. Same thing with mankind. We're just getting a foot out the door, or out of the bathtub, or out of the shark infested pool. Whatever metaphor you want to use. Talk to us about all this, but can you touch on the negativity or density first, that it does kind of exist, unfortunately, but you don't have to worry about it?
Yeah, for sure. I think that those of us who have been doing some spiritual study, we've heard this message again and again. Humanity is a great big experiment in unfolding in progress right now. And I mean, I think it's generous to say that we're living in the parents' basement, having, gone through some school. I'd say we're possibly closer to a toddler stage when it comes to humanity overall, right? And that's okay. It's all of us. We're all the same entity, really. This whole human, everybody, we're all the same person. We've all got all of it in us. We all have shadow self and light self. And I think that fear is still the predominant driving emotion for most people on the planet to varying extents. I think that change is scary almost across the board to all human beings, but to some much more so than others. So I think that where where that fear is most anchored, there's going to be a lot of aggression. It's like Tara Brach talks about the dog. You're walking through the forest and this like ferocious dog starts growling at you and salivating, and you're terrified and you think, what an evil, horrible creature. And then you notice that he's caught in a trap. His paw is caught and he's like trapped to the tree. And then all of a sudden your heart opens and you have compassion for the dog. They're just behaving out of the fear of their situation. And I think when we can have that compassion for our fellow man who, because they've gotten themselves in such a fearful place, thanks to no small part due to the media, right? We get ourselves whipped up into this fearful frenzy. We're going to act out. We're going to be aggressive. We're going to not be in our highest nature because fear is a really strong human determinant of how we show up in the world, right? So then it becomes about like having compassion and helping to bring the light, bring the love in any way that any of us can. That can mean smiling at the cashier who's checking you out at the grocery store and saying, I hope you have a great day, no matter what the button on their shirt says. And just keep bringing that light, pouring that light into the collective. We'll be able to raise the level, get rid of some of the fear, and we'll have less of the conflict that we have.
We have a lot of near-death experience folks on the show who, the record is 5. A doctor in Canada who founded Spiritual Awakenings International. This show is actually on their website. We got certified. We're listed as, and because we start with the letter A, we're up there pretty high up on the list. So hopefully we're getting viewers. If you're watching from Spiritual Awakenings International, which is global in 56 or 80 countries now, it's Dr. Yvonne Kassan, who's a fantastic expert, but she had 5 different near-death experiences, pretty serious ones. She should have definitely died. Plane crash in the middle of a blizzard in Canada, and unfortunately, some of the people didn't make it. Icy river, helicopter ran, most unbelievable story, but it was all documented and true. Unbelievable rescue and everything else. So the point on this is there's one guest who did the near-death experience thing. They're getting a life review. And I can't remember if it's a guest or a guest telling us about another near-death experience, but in the life review, it was the smallest act of kindness that was actually the greatest act of love in their pattern in their lifetime. They were at a supermarket, like you said. The person in front of them who was checking out was $1 shy, was ready to put objects back. She had $1, didn't think twice about it, and gave it to the woman who at that moment was in the worst financial crisis of her life, was just mortified, wanting the world to swallow her up. That dollar rippled. That woman ended up founding a company, essentially, or a nonprofit that fed people and paid it forward. And in her life review, she was shown how the dollar that she didn't think anything about, she knew the woman was in distress, but she really didn't go, oh, hey, are you okay? She just was like, hey, here you go. And that's it. And it made the biggest ripple of love. So it's hard to know about all that stuff. Now, I left that out there for you to follow up on in just a second, but we're going to ask you 2 poignant questions. Did you vote in the last 7 days?
Oh, yes.
Okay. But to vote, you have to pick a side.
Oh, yes. I am very, very clear on my side. There's no, I'm not asking anybody to be neutral here. I am passionate about my side.
There we go.
I speak passionately about it, and I won't here because I don't want to offend anybody, but when I speak passionately about it, I bring hope and optimism to it. And it's so possible for anybody to do that without disrespecting anyone or disparaging anyone or making anyone else wrong about their choices.
But let's indulge, because we're not going to talk politics. We're going to talk New York Jets. Are you a New York Jets fan or not?
I do not follow that enough to even give you an informed answer.
As a lot of the political shows will do, that was a no. And so you have picked sides publicly now. And so any New York Jet fan, we expect comments, emojis. Please subscribe, like, share, and make sure another New York Jets fan heard it here on the show. By the way, folks, we take steps usually at the end of these shows where you can see light on my fingers or in the air around you. You can catch lit sage. Many guests take steps with angels, other loving guides from India, Native American chiefs. Heck, you could even meet Uncle Larry if that was your favorite passed over relative, if you really extrapolate it out. It's up to you to what degree you want to allow love in. So let's go straight back to that concept, married to the first concept that we talked about. We don't know how much we ripple. So how do we handle this week? Is it not one of the greatest opportunities to love more, show love always that we've ever gotten?
It's always an opportunity. And yeah, it is. It's an opportunity in the collective and within our personal selves, because I don't think there's anybody who is so not empathic that they're not affected by the energy in the country right now. I mean, across the world, people are affected by the energy coming out of the US, but especially those of us here in the US, it's thick, it's dense, it's heavy in the collective, and that does infiltrate our personal energy fields. And for a lot of people, it's bringing up the shadow personally as well. As I see it in my joy school, we've been just like talking about it nonstop in the recent weeks. It's like when the shadow comes up in the collective, which is what's happening. And you know, you can listen to spiritual teachers talk about how what's actually happening is there's so much light that's available now. There's so much light that's coming in more quickly, more abundantly than ever before. What does light do? It does bring up the shadows. Light shines on what it shines on and allows for more of the shadow to come up, to be clear, to be healed. And so when that's happening at such a rapid pace in the collective, it's going to affect our own personal shadow work as well. So a lot of people are finding that, you know, relationships are dissolving, or jobs are going by the wayside, or different aspects of themselves are changing, and that can be scary. So there's just a whole mess of a lot going on. And I think that's when we just need to intentionally lean into our higher natures, do the work to align with our soul selves. Our souls are not red or blue. Our souls don't have enemies. Our souls understand that we are just weird little individuations of the same thing here. And just what can I do to bring the light today? Whether that's give $1 to the person behind me in the grocery store, whether that's go in this chat with my beautiful light worker friend Michael. Whatever we can do, as long as we're staying in our swim lane, bringing the love, bringing the light as best we can, it's really it shouldn't change our dedication to being a light worker on this planet, whatever happens today. Let's be clear. This is going to air in a few days, but we're talking about this on Tuesday on election. So
exactly.
If anything really super weird has gone down, don't blame us for not talking about it, because we don't know.
Exactly. So if there are reindeer games in Arizona or Wisconsin or Philly, and a bajillion ballots get make-believe generated. So now it's 4 billion for one candidate and only 80 million for another candidate. We don't have a population that big. How do we handle cheating and everything else? Is it sort of like a kid in the back of the SUV who's strapped in? Maybe at the beginning of the trip, their legs are just flailing like crazy. They might be twisting a little. They're protesting a lot, but 20 miles into the journey, they're out. Or if it's the end of the trip, they're running around the green grass, yelling hooray, chasing a butterfly. Are we not looking at a little bit of the leg kicking going on across the board everywhere? Everyone's doing the best they can to really go crazy.
Yeah, and everybody's kicking about it's them, they're doing it, it's them. So you have to look at that, right? What does it mean when we're blaming any party, any person? What is finger pointing, as my beautiful teacher in heaven now, Debbie Ford, would say? When you're pointing your finger at someone else, look at where the other three are pointing. When we're casting blame, whether on a party or a person, look at where the other three fingers are pointing. There's something in us that we can learn from that. There's something that we can uncover, that we're someplace that we're out of balance. And it's not always a direct correlation of that person is selfish. So shadow work would mean that I'm selfish, but that can't be true. I'm the most selfless, giving person on the planet. Okay, maybe it just means you're out of balance there then. Maybe there's like a subconscious envy of that person out there getting their needs met by being clear spoken about what they want and what their boundaries are, and it's a message for you to become more balanced in that regard. So it's not always apples to apples. You know, we judge this person for being messy because we're judging our own selves for having a messy home or whatever it is. Sometimes it is a direct correlative, sometimes it's the opposite, but it's always a gift when we catch ourselves casting blame. It's always a chance to look in our own soul and see what we can clear up there.
Mother Teresa said, if you judge people, you have no time to love them. And if you're relaxed and in your heart, you can figure out the difference between the flows up here and the flows down here. You saw one of the colors of the next exercise. Hey, I'm lighting 2 lights for you. Just left or right?
Left.
This left or the other left? This one?
I was my left, so you're right. That's
okay.
the one.
I didn't do red and blue because I don't have a red lighter, but you picked green, which means red. So that just gave it away. Kidding.
I don't think you gave much away there.
Yeah. Talk to us about how simple this really is. It doesn't mean changing any of your beliefs. It means you can lighten up a little bit about on them, or if they're causing you stress, just take more breaths. You don't have to change your vote. You don't have to change the way you view taxes. You don't have to change the way you view immigration, the economy, the whatever. Hold your views, but don't let them give you a heart attack, is the way I'm trying to phrase this. Talk to us about just a little bit of separation and cultivating that inner authentic. I mean, I think Joy's pushing it for today, but your inner authentic, inner calm. How about that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And in my Joy School, we do a lot with what Buddhists call the witness perspective, the observer. And I think just allowing our feelings, because we're going to have feelings today. I don't think there's a person in the country who's not going to have some feelings. So be the observer of your feelings. If they're happiness and joy because your candidate has won, make sure or do your best to keep that happiness and joy a celebration of all mankind, not a gloating. Make sure that you're celebrating because you truly believe in your heart that this is the direction that all people will benefit from. If you're sad and despondent whenever this result is announced, look at that. Make sure that it's not out of that again, I'm going to go to Buddhism. They call it clinging, that like, you know, I have to tell reality how it needs to be. This is something that's a very, very human tendency. We always want to manipulate reality, manipulate our circumstances. It's not a very spiritual tendency, right? So let go of the clinging of the outcome has to be the outcome that I said it had to be in order for me to be okay, right? That's real inner peace, joy. The kind of joy that we teach at Joy School is independent of circumstances. And everybody's capable of it because everybody's got a soul, and your soul can be joyful independent of circumstances. So it's just about finding it, getting in there, aligning with your soul self, and trusting in the bigger picture, trusting in, I could have sworn it needed to go XYZ way today in order for everything to be good. It didn't. So I'm just going to focus on everything being the way I want it to be. I'm going to focus on the world I want. There are things I can do to go out and create a better world in my estimation. I'm going to go do those things, regardless of who wins the 2024 presidential election. I can stay in my swim lane and do those things and get my joy there.
So feel what you feel. Do not judge. And then let's check off the boxes. I'm not doing fireworks tonight. I'm not popping a bottle of champagne, and I'm certainly not firing automatic weapons into the air out in the backyard to celebrate. Okay. And last is
if goes first. I'm not doing the last one.
Exactly. And then if the election goes a certain way, I'm unemployed. I've always got the chance to become a coyote at the southern border and make a lot of money into the table. I'm kidding. Total jokes here. I like humor, and what can I do about that? I'm going to blow some sage your way. I'm going to light some sage. This is an interactive. This is going to lead into the next topic, which is how big the universe really is, how much love there is. If love's a constant or love is everywhere, Big Mary said, open your eyes to find love. And that is every single moment. But we have 400 million reasons called thinking that say, no, you don't have time for that. We'll do it next week, next Tuesday. And 2 years goes by and you look up and you're like, oh, I never actually remember to look for love. Welcome to being human. You knew something that precluded the possibility of love in the moment. Here's Sage. This is like love. You can let love come right through the screens. It doesn't matter if it's 2030 and you're like, what election are they even talking about? I don't get it. So it's Trump versus Harris in 2024. I hope I got everybody's names right. And it's November 5th-ish or so, the Tuesday that's
It
the
is the
election.
5th. Yes, it's
Okay,
Tuesday election day.
I was under some pressure there. And everyone in America is worried about all this stuff, and it's really close. And we won't know for another 10 hours or 2 weeks, depending on which way some people get it, because we don't do elections in a day anymore. And that's okay. I'm cool with it. I'm jiggy with it. Here's Sage. Let it be plant medicine if you have to think about it that way. Which way do you need to think about it? And at some point, ditch the thinking and be in the heart and let the sage just be energy and love and light and vibration. And let the universe bring it to you. You don't have to actually do anything. Even if your schnoggin is broken, it was broken in rugby 2 years ago because you're an Australian watching. Good day. Catch some sage, but allow for flowers and ocean smell to come in next. Lisa in Florida, are you rocking out with a little bit of sage? We did this before the show.
So much.
Yeah, good.
Absolutely.
But what flower, is there a flower of peace? Is there a flower that angels can bring in that are going to make you laugh?
Jasmine that blooms in my front yard. Yeah. It's covered in hundreds of bees. It's the coolest thing.
And ask for ocean that's not Florida because you're living like right by the water. Duh, everyone in Florida lives by the water. What are you getting for an ocean that is not right out the back door? Seychelles, Cape Town, Bethany Beach.
How does it smell Mexico?
Ooh. And you did a non-political answer. You could have said, oh my God, not Rehoboth. What's the other one? In Delaware, which would have indicated one party, or it could have been Miami, and that would have indicated the other party. You could have done a political statement there. You did not. You resisted. Okay, let's go big picture for the galactic universal concept here. This is a hard one for folks. There's something called UFOs or UAPs. Whoa, did I fall asleep? Hold on. Thinking at the thinking level, it's the biggest thing since sliced bread for 80, 70, 100 years. It's really important because you got all these classified documents, you've got crash retrieval programs, bodies, and all the rest, and it's great. But it could take another 30 years. It could only take 3 weeks. Congressional hearing, who knows? Maybe we're not the only casino on the Vegas Strip of the universe. So talk to us about how there's just something beyond all that that's having to do with unconditional beings of light that are 100%, 1000% light and love, constantly our cheerleaders. You don't have to feel him, see him, or hear him to trust that this is so. And how is this really the other slipstream of consciousness? We're getting back to this. Not the unconsciousness, unloved side, but the consciousness, love, light side of the picture.
Where I'm going in my heart with what you just asked me, which I'm not entirely sure, but that's too much, is that.
Tell us about the big picture of this whole thing and how we're not alone in the universe.
Yeah, well, I don't think that anybody actually knows quantitatively, just like we don't know quantitatively which party is going to lead us in the best direction. Nobody actually knows that. I don't think anybody actually knows what's beyond our senses here. I don't think we're supposed to. There are a lot of people who have beautiful visions and beautiful feelings about it, that a lot of us feel a very strong internal rightness. From the time I first started reading spiritual books, have felt a very strong understanding, knowing that this is how it be here, that we are not the only game in town, that there are helpers, I have beautiful conversations with my ancestors on the other side. I believe in this entirely, but I don't think we have to in order to access our own souls. Every person on this planet can relate to wanting love, wanting to be loved. Why would that be? Why is that such a universal experience that nobody doesn't know that feeling of wanting to be loved? We're craving that homecoming to who we are. Every one of us has an aspect of us that is absolute pure love, peace, joy, oneness. We know it's there. We can feel it. There's nobody who's so cut off that they don't know it's there or have a memory of it having been there. That's what we need to lean into. It's accessible to everyone. If we want to say, yes, that's what connects us to all these beings that are helping in this whole loving other dimensional existence of help, sure, those of us who feel into that and that feels absolutely like the truth of the universe, lean into that. It's not even necessary. Just lean into the joy and love that everybody can access within them. Know that you have a soul, or you wouldn't be alive standing up. You would be a corpse if your soul had left your meat suit. You're not just a meat suit. You have a soul. Lean into it. Find that place. Connect to it now. That's what we all need to do.
I'm going to put up an angel or two first. Actual photos of angels, but you can use historical photos for like Audrey Hepburn, an angel. They'll wink, smile, move in a photograph. I'll remember to do that as well. And then you can see your soul if you want to close your eyes, but I also like just doing it out the window if you have a blue sky, and you can get like an aurora borealis out of nowhere, and that's you, and you're going to feel it. But let's do something like baby steps first. Here's an angel named Joy, and since you are the founder of the Joy School, people can sign up with you, and you have many different ways to help them peel back the layers of varnish to kind of discover their authentic wood, the organic part of you that existed before all the varnish got slapped on. And she helps you refurbish what already is there. In a way, there's nothing to gain, nothing to lose. She helps you sort of become that woodworker that you already are, or just shine as the wood that you are. Here's Joy. She's Joy, the emotion Joy. If you don't mind getting her to add something to this conversation, you'll hear on behalf of all of us, her speaking with you, something probably pithy a little bit.
Yeah.
What are you getting from Joy?
Yeah, it's right there. It's right there. Choose to let it in, choose to accept it, choose to be it. It's right there for every one of us. It's not something that we have to go chase or find or create or manifest. It's within us all.
Okay, and here's a Charlotte. When the word but comes up, you've either reacted to what Lisa said, what I said about the New York Jets, I'm sorry about that, or something else. You're watching TV and you're CNN, MSNBC, Fox, News Nation, what did I miss? The Free Press, Mike Benz, somebody spoke up and you yell at the TV, but I know, or whatever. What does Charlotte say? This is a great opportunity to remember, if you can remember in that moment.
She says, get out of your butt.
Get off your butt or get out of your head, or
Get your head out of your butt.
there we go. Okay. Yeah, we've got a new definition there otherwise. Okay. Here is Min, an oceany Pacific princess, Mother Hawaii, if you wish. He's an angel, light waves of energy and water. And if you don't mind feeling a little Hawaii flowing through the air, my microphone's up there. I'm going to blow.
Yeah.
Catching a little Hawaii in the room.
Yeah, it's just about, it's about flow. That's what water is here to teach us in shamanic traditions. We're going to be doing a Joy School retreat this weekend where we're going to use water as our access to our flow, being in flow with life, being in flow with the moment, being in flow with whatever reality is showing you is what's going to make you most effective in bringing about whatever it is that you want to create. So it's the flow.
And here's the next exercise. 3 angels just here. Yeah, you got this. No big deal. Here, you've got this. No big deal. But the real question when you close your eyes in a second, are you going to see red or blue? I'm making a political joke. You're not seeing red or blue. You can close your eyes and see your soul. If you need to at home, set your intent. I forget everything. Just set your intent. Angels, help me out of my head, into my heart. Help me enjoy watching election coverage. Go for a walk. Help me have the greatest cup of tea ever, the movie Elf, except it was coffee. Help me write this book. Set your intent more. You're an athlete. You kind of have your ritual or routine. If you're an Olympic level athlete, you definitely do. A Major League Baseball player, you see him knock off the dirt and do the 19 bat things before they're allowed to hit the ball. And my point is, develop a routine for setting your intent. Anything works. Just be like, universe, get me out of my head, into my heart. Amen. Rock and roll. Thank you. Om Sai Ram if you're from India. But at home, replay the part with Joy. I'll hold her up. Ask for a flower smell. Ask for a hug. A million ways to feel a hug. Get an answer to a question. It'll sound like your voice for 4 seconds. And here's kind of a bigger one. If you attach any importance to it, don't. Close your eyes and see your own higher self, your soul. You'll see Aurora Borealis. And Lisa, this is where you're our guinea pig on the show. Welcome to the APL Spotlight Series. Close your eyes and see your soul. Have Joy be your escort if you want. You've got this. You're already fully connected. And I'm kidding when I said, were you seeing red or blue, but you might see gold or silver. Can you share a few colors that you got?
Yeah, my soul is always this like thick, white, sparkly, just white, white,
Ooh.
white, white with so much sparkle in it.
Okay, now we're gonna go off the beaten path. I think we've already been doing that the whole show. And I've certainly been trying to keep it zany, to keep it light. Charlotte, for your own background, galactic background, universal background, domestic background, planet Earth, or just from where you're from or where you'll be from in the future or your past lives, what does she want to share about how you're so connected to your soul? Have her give you a private answer and then give you the filtered version you're allowed to publicly say in case there's a difference. You came in for a very specific reason. You're doing it.
Yeah, I think Charlotte wants to point us toward again what I don't think there's any definitive proof of, but what feels right to me is that we are here and we are somewhere else. Our soul is non-local. Our soul is inhabiting this meat suit, and our soul is the observing presence to it all. And it's not a passive observing. There is an active guidance, an active help that we can access. And that's what Charlotte pointed me towards sharing.
Okay, I'll do it a different way, which is in my original house in Austin, Texas, had two houses up there, and now I'm in North San Antonio, third house. Um, Over the last 14 years or so, or a little longer, I'd sit and let's say watch TV, shocker, in the living room of that first Austin home. And whether it was multiple people or myself, I would have visitors fly through the home. I felt like a fish in a fishbowl by the thousands. And I'd always check, and it wouldn't be a haunting or paranormal or anything like that, but I'd be watching a movie, and then we had this Y-shaped stairs, and I would see light go flying by or a light show up, and it was sort of pop-ins, visitors, passerbys, if I said that right, passersby, but galactic at some level, so that they were just checking out what's going on or checking in. And that became such a common occurrence that you learn to tune everything out. And so we're definitely not alone, is how I'm going to leave it. I'm going to try to put some really easy figures for people to connect with. Unconditional love, Native American guides, passed over chiefs who are here with us. They're treetop level. They're so much easier to connect with than angels. Here's a dull knife who's wisdom with some humor, historical figure. And you can catch one of those 40 sacred smells: sweetgrass, juniper, tobacco, pine, cedar. You get the idea. What does dull knife, having witnessed so much of mankind, what does he say about everything going on today and what's important to remember?
That humanity is moving in the direction of tolerance, compassion, love, and it can feel really incrementally slow to many of us.
And then I've got the gentlest mom in the world, not a manly description at all, for a Lakota Sioux chief named Redshirt, who's a historical figure. He's wearing a U.S. presidential medal. Day after the photo was taken, he and Geronimo were horseback, Pennsylvania Ave. Teddy Roosevelt, I think, was the president, a parade celebration of some sort. Either way, Redshirt is super soft spoken. We'll do a little humor, but anybody going through divorce, health crisis, job layoff, or just really a difficult election period will gravitate to him. What are you getting from Redshirt?
Richard is pointing out that compassion for others is a secondary effect to compassion for self. When we're super judgmental of those around us, we need to look at our capacity for self compassion, because always we're judging things that we're judging about ourselves. And when we can build our own just okayness with our humanness, whatever that's looking like in any given day, our okayness with all of the weird, scary little things that come up in us, and have a compassion for us, it will help us to have compassion for those that we're feeling are so different from us.
And I'll add a quote from Mother Teresa. And I think this is a 2014 quote, so it's way after she passed. We had a Swede do a testimonial who had gone in 1997 to adopt two little ones from India from Mother Teresa. I had met her then. And she's, I think, done fundraising for 25, 30 years. She's a Canadian originally, but like 35 years in Sweden. So perfect Swedish. She gave us a Swedish English testimonial. And the point on this, she got to reunite with Mother Teresa on the other side, was in tears over it. It was amazing. It was good for her. But this is a quote. I think Mother Teresa said in 2015, compassion is like a deep breath for many. And that just means you're so up in your head that you have no time for anything close to compassion or being in your heart, except maybe a forced deep breath at gunpoint, or it's your annual physical. And the doctor says, take a deep breath, stethoscope. And so compassion is like a deep breath for many. You're just way too busy doing the rat race, your big city job, 100-hour week work. And she said in 2014, compassion is not dependent on any one person's happiness. And I like that one a lot. Okay. Here's Geronimo. I'll do older Geronimo for you. He's action, dry wit, humor, slang, not formal and proper. He sometimes uses curse words, but the only person out of the whole group. I was shocked. I thought I was out of business at first, the first time he cursed to a client, but then I survived. So here we go. Here's older Geronimo. What does he have to say with what's the lesson in front of everyone doing anything in this election?
Kindness. That's the lesson across the board.
I like it. Okay, let's do it a different way. You're driving your car, you're at a four-way stop sign intersection, and you see a woman, 95 years old, walking her dog, and you wave her across. And I'll even read a reinforcing couple of sentences from an angel that could go right to your kindness statement or Geronimo's kindness statement. Sometimes the person next to you, or a stranger at a four-way stop sign walking their dog, just needs validation via love and compassion. A smile changes any moment. Smile. So too does laughter or a few kind words. Be compassionate to all. Do it. I'm going to throw a but in there. But how do I know that that woman isn't a member of the political party that's opposite of my team? How do I know she's not a New York Jets fan? Should I really let her cross in front of my vehicle? How do we handle the chicken and the egg here?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've been addressing it the whole time. We that's what we're being called to step into. That's the lesson for humanity right now. And every challenge and every horrible experience, there's a lesson. That's the lesson. Be kind.
Yeah, but what about, medical, how do I say it in non-English? How about medical imposition of stuff onto my body that's, medically injected into me? Or what about my tax rate? Or what about my job situation? Or what about this? Or what about that? Or what about my stress levels on this topic? Or what about my case of water that's not even $20 anymore? It's not available on the shelf anymore. Price controls kicked in and I can't get it except for Tuesdays, third Tuesday of every month, I can actually buy groceries. The line is 4 hours to get in. What about all the externals? You're telling me kindness really matters when the externals are more like Cuba or Russia in the 1980s. Okay, but so what's this all about? How shiny is love? How infinite it is? How do you know? And when did you know? Was it when you were 8, when you were 12? When did you walk away from the concept of love? And then when did you re-embrace it? How do you really know from your own life experience?
You're asking me how I got my spiritual chops the hard
Yeah,
way.
but there's always a
All of
little
us.
moment of ebb and flow. Like we got way too serious about a corporate job. We forgot about all the other stuff that's happened in our life. We've gotten away from here just a little bit. We've had a lot of success or a lot of failure. We get stuck for a little bit. Talk to us about just a really key period in your past where this just locked it in and you were like off to the races after that. You were like, love, 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 love.
Mm. I was a very fearful person. I had a lot of a lot of things in my childhood that caused that to be the case. I was very non-communicative. They thought I was mute when I was in elementary school. I couldn't like speak above a whisper, and that was only when I was really forced to. I had a lot of fear, a lot of distrust of the world and people. And I admire my colleagues who have a moment, a dark night of the soul, that everything turned around for them. It makes for a great story. It was very incremental to me. It was really with my first exposure to spiritual books. That just like opened me up, lit me up, made me realize I wasn't alone in the world. Like there are people out there who recognize what I recognize and feel the way I do and think the way I do. And I thought that I was just like an alien on this planet and there was nobody who would understand these things. And it really was a gradual progression through books and teachers, which is why I commuted, my life to being a writer and teacher of spiritual principles. And it's something that I think every one of us, with the right little opening, we can get the crowbar in there and make it wider and wider and wider. And just through a lifetime of dedication, learning and teaching, I think we grow a lot through teaching. So learning and teaching has expanded my capacity to trust and extend that unconditional kindness, because I think that's what you're by laying out, what about this issue and this issue and this issue, it's about recognizing that as passionately as this feels wrong to me, there's somebody else that feels equally passionate that this is the right thing. And just having that ability to step back and recognize, yeah, this is a big deal to me. And a lot of the political issues are personal big deals. I have a very tremendously personal big fear around my opponent losing the election. I have a transgender daughter that I may need to relocate out of the country. Yep. So it's a very big personal fear. And yet I work with people all the time in my PFLAG work with families who I understand that in their view, the existence of my daughter is a threat to their children's future. So I have to have that compassion as a parent. They want what they feel is going to create a safe, good future for their children, just like I want in my heart what I feel is going to create a safe, good future for my child. So it's that compassion, even when it's really difficult because of our own personal possible effects of the election, and being able to extend that genuinely and hug that mom who wants my child not to exist because it's so threatening to her, for fear of what her child might have to see in school or be exposed to.
And that topic has been going on for, I'm not going to get the decades right, 20 years, in terms of an existing fear scenario or whatever I'm supposed to say. That's been a pre-existing long time issue, like many of the other issues out there. Let's talk about compassion. And I will add, for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. That's the viewpoint. But then throw in the whole color palette or spectrum. There's everything in between. And then there's even more extreme thinking. It's the whole rainbow spectrum, throw in some black, throw in some white, and then flip it around. And Angel said there's no right or wrong. There's proper understanding. And that's what Lisa's been talking about this whole time with love, compassion, kindness, and gentleness. Okay. Compassion, like everything else that we're pointing to, there's never ending growth and expansion. And no matter how much we know up here, how much success or how much failure, or how much this, how much that, we try to put the brakes through ego. Ego's afraid to be in the unknown, to let go. There's nothing to gain and nothing to lose here. Move past seeing the negative is what we're talking about for this whole love, compassion, kindness thing. I'm going to throw out 3 or 4 definitions of compassion. I think we could be here for the next 30 years if we grabbed 30,000 light beings, angels, beings of light, and asked them each for a unique definition. We would fall asleep and 30 years later wake up with a list of 30 million definitions of compassion. I mean, I have a passed over dog that said a walk is compassion. And here are some more definitions for compassion. Jesus said around 2014 or so, open eyes and an open heart. Raphael said, compassion is releasing fears and judgments. Dale and Angel said, compassion is just being and trusting the outcome to be of the highest intent for all. I'll throw in one that's a little different. Archangel Uriel said about just mankind and expanding more if they wanted to walk a smoother path. If more people would listen, less conflict would result in any given situation. Can you talk to us about how the second you have an aha moment, you're like, I'm there, I've arrived. It's kind of like that whole Zen expression about chopping firewood. You know, you have a huge just epiphany and then you're back to chopping firewood the next day. This stuff never stops. How do you handle compassion, kindness, gentleness, and how it's just trillions of layers, like piano keys going up into the sky? This growth, this thing called life, it doesn't stop if you just would pay attention a little bit more.
Yeah. To me, it just comes down. We call it putting on the namaste lens in Joy School. It's the namaste. It's finding the divinity in the person in front of you. We do an exercise sometimes, when a forgiveness exercise, if there's somebody that you just are carrying resentment around, you just can't put it down, you just, and really any judgment we can do this with. We can be judging a political figure that we don't like, we can be judging a friend, a parent. Take that entity, that person, and lift out the offending trait, whatever you're finding most offensive about that person. Just in your imagination, see it as a fog, a cloak, whatever you need to do, lift it out of them. Because all that offending trait is one of those brain programs they picked up along the way. It's not the essence of the person, it's not their soul self. It's something that they learned and picked up somewhere along the way, unwittingly, innocently. And when you can see that person without the trait, and love that person, just love their soul, let your soul love their soul, and then say, yeah, but you know what, we opted to come here and do this human experience, and that means that we're going to be carrying around this stuff. So I'm going to put this trait back on you. I've seen you now for the truth of who you are. My soul has loved your soul. I'm going to put this trait back on you because we signed up for a human journey where you're going to have to carry the heaviness of that trait. And I'm going to carry the heaviness of having been affected by it, because we're here to learn how to transcend that. We're here to learn to see one another as souls. And um, that must be what it's all about. And we all signed up to come do it. So let's just do it.
Let's pick a specific example. I work at a workplace. It's a small company, only 30 people, family owned. I work with a coworker who just doesn't say proper things. Like I'm getting hit. And I've made a mental decision that if it happens a third time, I've already gone to management and said, hey, this is just inappropriate. I'm not feeling like worthy in this job anymore. I'm getting hit. The third time's the charm. It happens. And I just give notice. I'm gone, and that's it. And I'm holding the grudge, though, against that person. They might have been from an inner city somewhere, and in childhood, they took it on the chin, and they don't even know what they're doing with their own behavior. They might be a control freak, a narcissist, who knows? Either way, is it, how do you wish somebody well in that situation? Is it 2 years later you find yourself sending a little bit of love and light to their angel team to distribute, however it'll get down to that person? How do you talk about that sort of you took the step to at least separate yourself from the situation? That's a first step. But talk about the residual when you even talk about the situation. You get tight here, or something else goes on. You get sweaty, or you still, first thing in the morning, you wake up with it, or you go for a run. I'm a runner. Anything that you ever carry around in life will come out by mile 2. And you had better have dealt with it by mile 3 or 4, or you're walking, or you're not having a fun time and you don't want to run again. So you got to learn to let stuff go. Can you talk to us about that situation? You might have taken a great first step, but there's more to it than just leaving the workplace and changing jobs.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, I think that when there's somebody with offensive characteristics who's being offensive toward you, they're carrying a tremendous burden. Like you have to look at that as that poor person. I would never be that offensive. How lucky I am that either I didn't have the circumstances that they did that led me to become that way, or maybe I had the circumstances and it provided enough contrast that I've done the work on myself. I've had the opportunities, I've had the teachers, I've had the time and the wherewithal to do the work so that I'm not a person who's walking around the world with so much heaviness and density that they're offending people around them. And feel so grateful for that blessing for yourself, and feel compassion that this person has not had that opportunity. And yes, if it's going to continue to impede with your enjoyment of your life, then you remove yourself, but you remove yourself with compassion and wishing that person whatever they need to evolve into somebody who's not being offensive all over the place.
And that can be just to the sky. You don't have to talk to them in any way if you're giving your notice at your job. So it's still just taking action, not suffering or putting yourself through external stress for no reason. If there's a viable way to get out of the situation, we could be talking a relationship that's abusive or other situations. There's a million of those. Welcome to being human. Talk to us a little bit about there's all sorts of behavior, though, going on in the election, from just calling people names to actual potential criminal activity and everything else. Does it all sort of still lump together in that people are responsible for their actions and how they carry and flow their energy regardless? Whether you know it or not, you're ignorant to the fact that you're responsible for your own energy flows. You are. And ignorance is not an excuse. Is that, I'm quoting Geronimo on that last little part there. Is that how you kind of view this as energy flows? So try to be more aware of how you're flowing your energy is the bottom line.
Sure. Anything, that's been said a million different ways by different teachers, anything that we're doing to affect others negatively, we're doing to ourselves. There's the karmic interpretations, there's just the energy that's flowing through you. If you're flowing hatred and aggressive energy towards someone, that's filling you first, right? We don't just grab hate from the ethers and throw it at someone, we flow it through us. Same with love. If we're giving someone our blessings and our love, we're not just grabbing it from out there, we're flowing that through us. So it's like the old analogy about eating poison and expecting the other person to die. Whatever you're wishing upon someone, whatever you're saying that is carrying energy towards someone, that's what you're carrying within you, within your heart.
So if you could set up your doppelganger that was still part of you, connected to you, and you were going to throw a comment at somebody, try it out on yourself first. And if you can find a politer way to say it. Like, I remember the first time I tried to be mean to somebody. Kidding. But so, okay, how do you want to wrap this up for a reminder for everyone? I'm going to add 2 cents here and buy you a little bit of time, even though I know you could do this blindfolded and riding a bike backwards. Angels exist. Allow for this possibility, and your answers and much more, your hugs, one hug's worth 100 answers, will come. If you need your handheld physically, close your eyes. I'll even put up Joy's photo for just 1 second, but I'll throw up 4 archangels and an angel named Mac, who's nature, plants, animals. If you need to go for a walk today, what better day to go commune with nature and talk to the trees than today? Put your feet barefoot in the grass. If you got a pool, get in the pool. Touch water, at least running in a sink. 4 archangels, a Mac, don't call her Mackenzie, everything plants, animals, nature, and joy. Ask them for a hug. 1 million ways to feel a hug. Feel some sort of an energy transaction. Catch flowers in the air, catch incense. If you want to catch an ancient Egyptian incense or an India incense, Lisa, can you ask for incense in your place in Florida right now?
Got it.
Good. And what is their reminder? Let's let the Peanut Gallery, if that's not what they are, but let's let the Unconditional Love Gallery weigh in one last time about all the hubbub going on planet Earth, especially in America right now. What do they say collectively?
They're just kind of shaking their heads with compassion at us silly humans doing our human thing down here.
Aw.
It's when we align with our soul selves, or angels in your case, or whatever we can call upon to have that broader perspective, that broader definitive, we're able to just look at our human selves and all of humanity with the compassion of a loving parent who, with and their child is having a tantrum at the grocery store. Or there's you imagine like the toddler whose ice cream has rolled off the cone onto the sidewalk, and they're just wailing about this horrible, unexpected, unforeseen circumstance. This is the end of the world. And the parent is going to have compassion because they can see that they're very upset. But the parent also knows that there are many more ice cream cones in this child's future, and that in 10 minutes they're going to be off playing on the playground. So yes, you come in with compassion and hugs and love and comfort, but this is how our higher natures look at us, wailing and flailing about this election. Okay, it's just like it looks like an ice cream cone rolling onto the sidewalk to the angels and the guides.
And I'll do a final reminder. This isn't about, I wouldn't want to change anybody's thinking, not one iota. You're flowing your energy, how you're flowing your energy. You know what you know. You're putting your focus where you put your focus. And again, how you spend your energy is how you spend it. So that's your flavor. That's your contrast. That's your value system. It's, if you are a New York Jets fan, cool. If you're a New York Giants fan, cool. But if you're, who's my favorite team? I've got like 3 or 4 favorite teams. So if you're those teams, fantastic too. But so it isn't about altering your thinking or changing any of your values or anything like that. But it is perhaps about a little less thinking daily. Charlotte once said 7% less thinking a day is the Olympic gold medal. That's it. I got a calculator out 5 times now. Still can't remember the answer. It's somewhere between an hour and a half and 2 hours and 20 minutes daily. Out of 24 hours, what's 7%? And so that's what this is about. Lisa, can you plug the concept of what's 7% less thinking mean daily? Does that mean 7% more this? And what the heck is that? And talk to us one last time about inner calm, your inner authentic self, your inner joy, that love flow. What is this?
Yeah. When you hear that busy voice, we all have it, that human voice, when it's just going crazy and it's, all of the objections and unfairness, put your hands on your heart, take deep breaths. What does my soul have to say about this? Your soul is ready to talk to you. Maybe not immediately if it's the first time you're doing it, but you build the practice. You can recognize right away that whatever this Michigan thing is saying is not your soul's voice. We all have different voices we can tune into. Change the station, change the dial. We all have had moments where we've leaned into our higher nature. We know how good it feels to access our higher nature. Put your hand on your heart and ask, what does my soul have to say about this? And you'll get a better answer.
And I'll do the granny stop sign thing again. Were you really not going to say hi or wave along a dog walker if you knew their political background and how they rolled with their thinking? They're a New York Jets fan. They're even wearing a New York Jets jersey, and you're like, I'm purposely going to like not let her cross the street and wave them along and make their day. No, that's not how it works at all. You should be totally just doing you, and you should be shiny, happy, and spreading a little bit of love. But let's flip the pancake or the donut here. If everyone thought like you did, and I don't care what the issue is, it would be a terrifying reality, a terrifying existence, no matter what topic. We could be talking snakes are bad or snakes are good. And that means snakes are going to be everywhere in every household, at every supermarket. People are carrying snakes around, and even cobras. And you might have a thing. You're like Indiana Jones and you don't like snakes in the original movie. Or snakes are bad, and now snakes are like wiped out everywhere on the globe. Or pick any other topic. If every single person thought the same way, boy, would it be a boring existence here. So there's something to that about having the diversity, having the flavor, having the contrast. Esther Hicks talks about it. Can you add a little bit about how that contrast is actually rock star groovy good for all of us?
You never had a bad day, you'd never have a good day. We need contrast to assign any meaning to anything. There needs to be contrast. Nothing is good or bad other than in comparison to something else that you've experienced. So absolutely. This is why we come to Earth, to play this game. This is the appreciation of non-duality. Non-duality is that, everything has seeds of good and bad. It's the taijutsu yin yang symbol, with the black with the dot of white and the white with the dot of black. When we can relax into our higher knowing of non-duality, we recognize that it's just a game we play here to assign good and bad to things.
And speaking of which, I mean, when I lived in New York for 18 years, there's probably a moment of a few years I was a New York Jets fan. But the ego is like Julie McCoy out of Love Boat with a clipboard and pen. And it's very shallow. It's very short-sighted. It won't try to control half your daily activities when you're actually totally connected to all, totally in your heart. Flipping a light switch, putting the jeans on, taking a shower, falling asleep at night, brushing your teeth. You did it with excellence and class. And you don't give yourself any credit for it. Thanks to Julie McCoy. Not to knock Julie McCoy, but it doesn't acknowledge all the changes you've made in life, which is part of the growth and expansion. I was a New York Jets fan twice in this period, And so I'm not going to end up beating myself up over the fact that I love the New York Jets. I'm not going to lose 2 weeks of sleep because I'm like, oh my God, I forgot that I was a New York Jets fan. What was I thinking? And now I'm not allowed to sleep for 2 weeks. It just, if you only could realize how like self-limiting we are all the time, that's what's crazy about all this. So I've got one last figure for you to do. I lied. Debbie Ford. I'm going to put her up, and she's been wonderful for a lot of guests and others. And I have two lovely photos I have to remember. Here she is. Okay. We've had Ariel Ford on the show. She's wonderful. Here's Debbie. Can Debbie weigh in with a final reminder? She knows who she's voting for, but that's not important right now.
Oh, yeah.
And what is she? Yeah.
Got the best reminder. Whatever you're thinking about them, that is you. She's our shadow work queen. She understands we've all got all of it in us. We can't judge another without judging ourselves.
I love it. Lisa, thank you very much for being on the APL Spotlight series.
Always fun.
Namaste.
Namaste. I love you.
Namaste in bed and not watch any of the political coverage and just find out 4 days from now. I can do 4. 4 days from now, what the actual result was. I am doing a challenge. Can anyone not pay attention long enough? And when will you say 2 weeks from now, you're like, oh my God, that person won? I didn't know. That would be the best.
We'll see. I don't know if I know anybody who can do that. That would be a beautiful spiritual experiment, but I don't know anybody who's going to be able to do that.
Right. Well, Lisa, great seeing you. Thanks again for being a guest on this impromptu, short notice show.
Thanks for inviting me, love. See you soon.